Hey, what's up? We are back in Brainwashed to be Broke, the show where we talk about all the brainwashing stories, pattern, beliefs, everything what we've been taught since our young age, and what is truly possible. Today we are here with another amazing and very interesting guest. Her name is Caroline. I'm really pumped to have you here. She is executive coach and a dynamic public speaker with 20 years of experience helping individuals and organizations unlock their potential through career strategy, leadership development, and organizational culture work, which is really, really interesting. Most of the people would be going straight up into, like, what is your backstory? How did you get into entrepreneurship? Like, what led you to actually start even this journey? But I would love to start with a little bit different question, something that may, lead the conversation to different directions. But so the question is, what is the truth driving source for you when it comes to your all success? Is it like family? Is it the legacy? Is it religious? Or is there something like that is very much affecting the way that you like why you do those things and like why you are in a business?
Yeah. So, Adam, it's good to be with you. Thank you for having me. And I love that you went to a deep existential question right off the bat. It's interesting. I think at this point in my life as an entrepreneur, what drives me is really impacting change and helping
Well,
people. Very specifically, I'm a coach. I do a lot of keynote work on stages as a speaker. And I'll tell you about my career origin later as we get into this conversation. But I'll also be really candid with you. When I left industry and I worked for organizations, I was completely burned out. So
really?
driver, my
Hmm.
driver, my value is to do my best work and also live my best life because we only have one life and we need to take care of our health and our well-being. And I want to spend time with my family and my loved ones. And I also want to do great work. And now my focus is do your best work, live your best life, where before I was just working and that wasn't enough.
Right. Interesting. So how did you, when you mentioned that you've been completely burned out, like, why was that even happening? Why was that even thing?
Yeah, yeah. So I was working, and I'm not going to ever blame a boss or an organization. I mean, when you burn out, we have responsibility in that, right? But I was working in an organization that had that mindset of we work around the clock. And this was during COVID, right? So it was very different. We were all online and we almost felt this need to prove our value. So we worked more because we were afraid of being let go or fired, and we needed to show the value that we brought to the organization. So it was kind of the perfect storm of overworking. But we were also scaling an entrepreneurial venture in an organization. So I've been an entrepreneur in a company, and now I'm my own entrepreneur scaling
Uh-huh.
my own business. So I get that. And I think the reality is we just
Oh,
weren't realistic.
just hold on. What do you mean by being an entrepreneur in somebody else's company? What you
So,
been actually doing at
uh,
that time?
so there's an actual word called intrapreneur,
Okay, yeah,
INRA, right? Intrapreneur. And that means you're scaling a venture or a project or a business inside an organization.
I get it. Yeah,
You have the resources of the company, but it is not your own venture. You're scaling it on behalf of an organization. So I've done that a lot in my career. And I always had what I call a side hustle, which was my own business. And then when I left that industry in 2022, I took that side hustle and made it my full-time business as an entrepreneur.
right, right. So, what you been actually doing in that company? Like scaling by like bringing leads or like systems or sales or yeah.
It's a really good question. So, for most of my career, I've been working in career and talent development, helping people find jobs and also find promotion opportunities, become great leaders. So, in this most recent company that I left, really good organization, good people, it was my choice to leave. We were scaling a career development experience for students and
Right. Okay.
undergraduates. So helping them launch into the world of work after they graduated from college. And it went from a very small entity to serving over 120,000 people very quickly over a 3-year span. So it was a massive, massive entrepreneurial venture in an organization.
Love it, love it. Very interesting. I don't think that I have anybody like that on the show yet.
Yeah.
So this is really like there is a lots of okay because when it comes to why did you decide to go this round like from the begin like I don't know how your childhood looked like or like how your when it comes to schooling and like school time and so on how did it actually look like but why did you decided to go with company like it was like I don't know how it even properly works so it's like it's literally like are you paid by percentage of the profits that you bring in or like how does it actually work is it like more negotiation type of thing that you have to deal with the company.
So when I was in the company, and I'll give you a little background about what I
Okay.
did
Yeah.
before that. First, let me answer your question. When I was in the company, I was a full-time salaried leader. So I was getting a
Hmm.
monthly paycheck and I was an employee, but I was hired to come in and scale this entrepreneurial venture
Right.
because it was a brand new program. I hired and trained gosh, over 120 people on Zoom, not just me,
Look.
but a
Yeah.
team, right, during COVID. And it was this business entity that was available to current students and recent graduates, we call alumni. So it was a great way to make connections with employers in the area who would hire these students and recent graduates. So when they graduated from the college, they could launch their careers.
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Right. Yeah, there is lots of when it comes to the whole schooling okay like schooling system I have completely like opinions about schooling system when it comes to like what they are doing like how like it's just insane to me like like how the system is all set it up and then like it's really interesting that there are still people that actually like cares about those kids and trying to get them the jobs like right after they finish the school because like it's really tough time like I spend bunch of time like just searching and figuring out what I actually going to do in my life because like when I see like basically I've been raised by my grandparents most of the time because my parents been literally working so much so hard like 3 jobs just to literally get by and they didn't have any time right they don't have any time like literally left so I see them just during the nights most of the time and then like when I see when I've been finishing school and everything like this path leads to the same
Yeah, yeah.
literally like the same place where they've been
Yeah.
where they are and
And I'll tell you, I think it's so important that we work with students of all ages, right? It's
yeah
not just young people who are in college or university or even high school in the United States. I know you're
yeah
coming from England, so it's a slightly different scenario, but the reality is they're the future. You're the next
yeah
generation of leaders. So we have to pour into them and invest in them and help them bridge the gap from college and university to the working world. It's not
right
easy, and they need help, they need connections, they need to learn how to promote themselves, but they also need, Adam, to learn how to explore what's out there.
oh
Not
yeah
knows exactly what they want to do, and that's okay,
yeah
right?
yeah
They need
100%
they need that safe space to explore, maybe do an internship or an apprenticeship and
yeah
learn what the opportunities are. Because I'm sure you've experienced this. There's so many possibilities, it can be overwhelming, right?
yeah
Where to
it can
start? And
yeah
that's where I came in with my team to provide career coaching to help
mm,
students figure out what am I good at? What am I interested in? What would I like to explore? How can I experiment to find something and then test it, test
yeah
drive it and see, do I really like this? Am I good at it? We're going to have many careers in our lifetime, so we have to try and experiment until we find what really satisfies us.
yeah yeah when it comes to deciding between or like when you have probably lots of opportunities to talk to young people and even maybe older people it doesn't really matter the point that I want to bring in here is like do you even like help them decide between like being in a corporate job
Yes.
or
Yeah.
starting a business actually based
Yeah.
on their personality, based on how they operate, how they what they do, and how they think.
And I love how you mentioned their personality, right? Everybody's different. So there are a lot of things that we talk about. We talk about what do they value? You mentioned what drives you. Is your family? Is it the money? Is it the success? Everybody's different. There's no
Yeah.
one size. Then what interests them? Maybe they're interested in art or sports or politics or business. What are they good at? What are their skills and their strengths? It's lovely to say, yeah, I want to play professional basketball, but if you're not good, we're not good enough, then we need to think about something else. And
Yeah.
then also, what drives you? What are you interested in?
Yeah.
Some people are going to be great in a big company, a big corporate environment.
Mm.
Others want a smaller environment where they're more seen and heard, or maybe it's less stressful and more collegial. So yeah, it's not one size fits all. Everybody's different.
Okay, I'm bringing something like a little bit of fire in here. Like,
Bring it on.
okay, because like I believe that you can change like it doesn't really matter. Like, yes, of course, like there are this type of things like you are better at something, like you are better, like you have more talents in some places. But I believe that everything is basically learnable. Like
I,
everything. You are capable of doing everything, like anything that you literally wish to do.
yeah,
The only thing is how much you willing to sacrifice for it and how much time, like, you basically willing to sacrifice for it.
yeah.
Because I see people that, because I've been in many coaching programs, in like working with like connecting with lots of people, and like success and making money online and being in business, it's not really difficult. Like making money online is not really difficult skill. It's simple, but it takes time and effort to actually like really do the thing.
Exactly. I agree with you. So I'll give you a little history
Mhm.
because I think it's interesting. So I started my career as a musician. I went to college to learn to be
Interesting.
a musician. So I was a singer. I was an opera singer and did that for about 10 years and loved it, traveled the world, but it was very difficult financially to make enough money to be
Right.
sustainable. There's a term that we say as artists, it's feast or famine. And
Oh,
it's wonderful when you're making money, but then there are those times in between when you're waiting for the next job. And that was really difficult. The singing was lovely. I enjoyed that immensely, but it was really hard for me to make enough money to sustain myself.
mm,
So it's something that I still do, but it's not my career. But I will tell you, even though I didn't study business, I learned how to be a great business person because I had to be when I was navigating that musical career. And even now, as an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to be a good business person. So, to
yeah.
your point, I didn't study that at university, but I learned on my own. I asked questions, I did a lot of research, and I read a lot, and I talked to people that had expertise. So, you're right, we can learn almost anything.
Yeah, totally. And it's so sad to see like people, instead of, because we as a humans, we are like, I don't know if you're Christian or not, but we are created in God's image, right? And we are creators. We create things.
We
This
do.
is what we are, who we are. This is what we do. And
Yeah.
then there is this system that basically boxed us into like, do not think like I don't know if you heard the term of like um NCP, like it's the gaming type of a term for non-playing character.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like the character that lives in the game and it's like having the schedule, like at this time you're gonna be at this place, and
Yeah.
when you finish you're gonna go basically home, and you just like and all of that's how many most people are literally living their life this way.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And I see so many people that are burned out or they're not happy in their career. And look, we only have one life and we only have one body. And we need to honor the body and honor our lives because we only get one chance in this world. Now, we can reinvent, we can have different jobs and different experiences. So we have many chances there. But I see so many people, Adam, that are miserable. They hate
Oh
their
yeah.
job, they hate their life. And I think I get it. Sometimes we just have to earn money. I've been in that situation and we do things that we don't love. But if we don't really honor what's important to us, we're going to be miserable. And we have power, we have choice. And if we can act on those, life can get better.
So when you mentioned that, I've been in the same situation, like, or same situation, similar situation. I cannot say because I don't know what you've been going through. But when it comes to those tough times, struggling with money and so on, what was the thing that you take the most out of them? Like
Yeah.
what was the thing that, um, maybe changed the way that you see the world, see yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be really candid. There were times where I was living paycheck to paycheck and I was very worried about money and I had more debt than I wanted to. And sometimes you get extra jobs. You know, you mentioned your parents. I had two and three different jobs because I was trying to earn enough money to make ends meet. And I realized that was necessary at that time, but I knew that I wasn't going to be stuck in that forever. I just knew that I had to roll up my sleeves and earn that money to do what I needed to. And I was always working towards something else that would empower me to make enough money that I would have no worries, right? I'm not
Mm,
driven by money, but I work really hard and I want to
yeah,
earn money to live a life that keeps me healthy, that honors my family, and allows me to do things that I really love to do.
yeah, yeah. I'm just like, because there are those type of sayings, right? Like, that you have to work hard for money. Your thoughts on that? I
Yeah,
would love to hear that because, like, you mentioned lots of times that you work very hard. I do so.
yeah,
Same. I'm workaholic. I'm obsessed about building, studying,
yeah.
developing myself, right? But in my like in my opinion, make money is not like a result of hard work.
Yeah, here's what I would say. I will always work hard too, just like you, right? That's in my DNA. That's who
Yeah.
I am. That's how I'm
Yep.
wired. And
Yeah.
I love it. I love that work. It gives me great joy. So when I'm doing things that I love to do, it gives me great joy. And it doesn't feel like work. It feels like this is what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm also earning money. So
Yeah.
there were times in my life where I was doing a lot of hard work and it didn't bring me joy, but it was paying the bills and it did what it needed to at that point. Money was a service, right? I was doing things. I waited tables for many years when I was in college. And is that something that I wanted to do forever? No, but it was a really good way to work hard and earn money. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was a very good career and it taught me a lot about people. And I never regret that. But I think what happens is when you find something that you're good at and it brings you joy, the money will come.
Yeah. Totally. I 100% agree. When I finished the school, I basically, like, I'm originally from Czech Republic, right? And at that time, when I see that everything, like, basically going back to the same spot, like, I see my parents working and so on, I decided to move to England, completely out of the
Yeah.
comfort zone, out of the environment that I've been, surrounded with people and so on. And literally on my own, I moved to England, couldn't speak English,
Wow.
nothing basically, and like found a job. And I thought that that's going to be the thing that's going to change the way I've been living, right? But what I figured out was that it doesn't really matter where you are
Mhm.
because the conditions are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So the change had to happen inside of me,
Yes.
right? And from there, that was the stepping stone for me to basically start learning, start developing myself and skills and testing different things, which is interesting because I've been in new environment, completely new environment. No, I didn't know anybody, and I was hustling all the time, like crazy hours. And did you like how did you handle your environment when it comes to your life? That did you have like moments where are like people that literally like have a huge influence on you, and like you trying to like do not really pay attention to those words that they are saying, because like you probably know the saying, like you are basically average of the five most influential people around yourself, right?
Yeah.
And like I would love to see your perspective. How did you like deal with that situation? Like because I believe that you had so for sure something like yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, when I decided to leave the company and start my own business, a lot of people said, "Oh, you're crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's too big a risk. What if you fail?" And I said, "What if I fail? Then I'll pick myself up and start something else, right? I'm a risk taker. I like that. I like change. I like new things. I like new challenges. So there are always people that will tell you no. And I think we need to listen to them, but not necessarily act on that. It's good to hear and put it in perspective. But you're right. If we surround ourselves with people that believe in us and have confidence and believe that we have potential, that's where it happens. But Adam, here's what I've learned. And I say this with love because I love my friends, I love my family, I love colleagues that I work with, but I aspire to be and spend time with people that are at a higher level than me, because then I grow when I'm with them.
Yes.
If I hang out with the people that have
Yeah.
not achieved as much, they're good people, they're friends, and I love them. But I need to be challenged by people that
Yeah.
have done more, because then I improve every time
Yeah.
I'm with them. So that's what I look for with those people who can take me to that next level.
Yeah. Do you know, there is so many people who are scared of risking. Like, have you been always like a huge risk taker? Like, you love challenges, but like figuring out problems. So like, and yeah.
I'm wired that way. And a lot of people, even my family, were like, "What are you doing? This is crazy. Don't." And I respect that. They have a different tolerance for risk, but for me, there's no question. Try it. What's the worst thing that could happen? You could fail. Okay. Then you pick yourself up and you try again. And I've done great things because I failed. And I've learned from that and I move forward. There's a phrase that I use: I fail forward. How do I,
Ooh, yeah,
right? I
yeah,
don't fail
yeah.
backwards. I fail forward. I always learn something new. And some of the greatest things happen because you experiment and you try something. So I will always, always be a risk taker. And I'm okay with that.
I think it's really like it's essential actually in being a business owner, and like most of the most successful entrepreneurs are basically insanely huge risk takers. Like they test and try new things all the time, putting themselves into new environments, new, you know, yeah, just trying new things, and I this is so, in my opinion, it's really important to be that way, because you basically this is how the evolution and like uh, you know come in place, because like we all the time figuring new things out, right?
Yeah.
But also like it can be a danger place, because like shiny object syndrome, like literally looking for so many different, and like you should pick one thing and like literally just dive into it and just do the thing.
Yeah.
And have you ever experienced like, or have you had like this type of issue when it comes to like trying too many things actually?
So I'll give you an example. So when I left my company, the company, and started my own business, I knew that I had to be really specific to understand what kind of clients that I wanted. So I said, let's start small and think about it like a restaurant. When you go to a restaurant and there's so things on the menu, you sit there and think, I don't know, I'm overwhelmed. What do I want? So have for me, a beautiful curated menu of delicious things that your
Right.
clients will want. I'm using that as a metaphor, right?
Yeah.
But and then eventually I scaled and offered more things. But in the beginning, I took small,
Simple.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's simple. And it was a risk anyway to start the business. So I thought, let me do it in a way that gives me quicker success. So I build a community of clients and I build my value add and I prove to everybody that I can do this. And then I added more menu items.
Are you coming from uh like corporate working family, or are you from family of
No, not at all.
um
So
entrepreneurs? Yeah.
I'm the first generation college student in my family. My father worked in banking in New York City, and my mom had raised children and then went to work and did a lot of work in the nonprofit sector. And I'm incredibly proud of both of them because they didn't have the opportunity to attend college because their families couldn't afford it. It was a very different
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And I'm so deeply grateful that they empowered me to attend college and gain that education. And I say this and I love them dearly. My father has passed away, but my mom is still around. They're not risk tolerant, right? They're very frightened of risk. So it was scary for them to see me do things that were risky because they had just a very different set of I don't want to say values, but they weren't great risk takers. And I also respect not everybody is. So we have to meet people where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there an event that actually like made the shift
Yeah.
being like very significant for you to like decide that you're going to go
Yeah.
for a business actually? Were there some type of event that happened that
Yeah.
like
It
prompted you to do so?
part of it was the burnout, and that was
Right.
COVID. Everybody was exhausted. So there was that. But I also realized I loved my side hustle work more than the day job work. And I thought, if I'm working this hard and I know I will always work hard, why not invest my energy into what I absolutely love?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I made that decision to say, I've got this energy, I've got this expertise, I've got the desire and the interest. Why not take the risk and see if you can do it full time? And it's been 4 years and I have never looked back. I don't regret it. I'm extremely happy and I'm doing exactly what I love. And you
Mhm.
don't always have that luxury when you work for somebody else. You need to do what they need you to do. But
Right.
I designed a business that honors me.
Yeah. So when you finish your studies, did you already know at that point that like how the system is actually designed for like for most of the people, or were there some like the point that you like literally like you had the aha moment where it comes to like, oh my gosh, okay, the world is basically like pretty like in my opinion is pretty much corrupted the way like it's literally keeping people uninformed like
Absolutely. No,
completely.
I
Yeah.
learned after I graduated from
Okay.
university. I
Okay.
mean, they don't tell you that at
Yeah.
university. They really don't, uh, until recently, help you figure out what's next or help you
Yeah.
launch your career. So, no, I think I was very naive when I
Yeah.
graduated
Yeah.
from
It's
university.
very well designed, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I often say I learned all this on the streets, right? Doing it and figuring it out and
Yeah.
through other people. So I'm grateful for that. But I wish that whether it's for younger students,
Yeah.
before university, and not everybody goes to university, and that's okay. But I
Yeah.
wish that all students would have more exposure to the real world.
Yeah. So true. Because we all going to school to actually learn how to make money, right? But they don't teach us anything about it,
About it.
which
Yeah,
is
let's
which
talk
is
about it.
great.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy when you think about it, right?
Yeah, it is.
It really is because all of us have that responsibility of making money to pay the bills and do all the things. And if you have a family, it's a bigger responsibility because it's not just yourself, right? It might be
Yeah.
your children or your spouse or your parents, any number of people. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And now like the population like how like the population is like I don't want to be like saying some bad words basically, but like they are naive basically the whole population how the life should be like, and like they are so like it's insane how population is dumb about money like at all, and we are having more and more debt basically. Okay,
Yeah.
like we can go into like money like topics and so on, like the money is debt and all of that, like literally it doesn't exist, like it's basically our belief inside. But don't like let's don't go through to that rabbit hole because this is like that would be insane conversation there right there. um but I would love to also hear from you like when it because you mentioned that you had like this hobby that you've been singing,
Mhm.
right? And you do probably until this point, right? why why haven't you decided after to like is this something that you love doing like singing, and is it
It,
something that you are super passionate about, like maybe even like equally with business, or like is it Yeah,
Yeah, so I really had to come to terms with that because I knew that financially I couldn't afford to only be a singer. So
right.
for me, I have what I call kind of a mosaic career. All these little pieces come together to form this beautiful puzzle. I don't do just one thing. So I'm still a professional singer, but it's not the only way that I earn money. And
Yeah.
in a way, it's almost more joyful for me now because there isn't the stress of thinking, I only raise money or I only earn money by being a singer. So now when I have a singing gig, it's like, oh, I'm making some extra money here, but I'm doing something that I find to be joyful.
Yeah. Okay. This is really interesting because this is not like like how did you get into like singing actually? Like I
Yeah.
would love to hear that story.
Yeah. So as a little girl growing up in church, I sang in the church choir. I sang
So
in the
okay, so you're Christian. I didn't like it. Yeah. Oh, you
So I
are.
went
Okay.
to Catholic church and I grew up singing in the choir and I was really loud. And the choir director called my parents and really loud and it's kind of disruptive. I'd like to put her in the adult choir because she'll be fine with the grown-ups, but she's too loud for the kids. And it's funny now, we look back at it now and it's funny, but that was the best thing ever because then I really learned how to sing. And then I studied singing and then I went to college and I studied singing and I studied foreign languages and I'd studied the repertoire. But it was that experience as a very young girl that exposed me to that. And just like an athlete might figure out that they're good at a sport just by playing, I figured out that I had a natural talent that was worth developing in the choir at church.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah, because like I can feel from you like how you speak, you have very like very
Yeah.
a voice.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like when you practicing something, you can like literally you are a living example of what is possible. Like really like, and like how it all affects your whole human being. It's really interesting. And also like because I know that you are like also like public speaker. Do you feel that like is there a connection between those
Oh,
two things?
yes,
Like
absolutely.
yeah, okay.
I often say I'm singing a different tune. And let me give you a little story here, Adam. I think it's very important. So when you're a singer or an actor, you're singing someone else's music or you're speaking someone
Yeah.
else's script. And it's wonderful. You become a character, whether it's Mozart or, something more contemporary, or if I was on stage, I was acting in a role. And that's great. But now I'm myself. Right? So I'm speaking as Caroline, not as somebody else's character. And I'm developing the content. I'm the composer. I'm creating the content. So I love that because I'm performing as me. And it's all the more authentic. And I design the message. But I will tell you, I love being on stage, right? And I don't say that with any ego. There's something really magical about with an audience and giving them a message that can help them. So for me, that is the best ever.
Right, right. Is it when it comes to singing, you probably like you're singing also some type of, music or like, some words.
Yep.
Would you say that even a music is influential on its own?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. And
Okay.
I always say, I even say this in one of my talks, some people like Beethoven, some people like Beyonce. There's nothing wrong with either.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to find the music that inspires you. It could be jazz, it could be rap, it could be any number of things. So I think the beauty of music is that you find something that speaks to you. And for me, it's not one singular. I mean, I was
Right.
trained in classical music, but I love all kinds of music.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have some like your specific way like that I'm not a musician or someone. Like do you have like your own like favorite
Yeah.
um
I mean, yes,
singing style that you perform most of the time? Okay.
I was trained in classical music and I'm an opera
Uh-huh.
singer. So I did a lot of work in that repertoire. And I'll tell you, your body has a certain way that it produces sound, just like your body has a certain way that you might be good at sports. So I'm making this up, right? But maybe my sister is really good at volleyball and my brother is really good at tennis. I'm making that up. So for me, the type of music that I was good at was classical. That was how it fit
Yeah.
my voice. So we need to think about what our body is meant to do, what our
Uh-huh.
voice is meant to do, and you gravitate toward that. I love rock and roll. It's just not the kind of voice that I have. I love to listen to it,
You
but
listen, yeah,
it's not the kind of stuff I sing because my voice was designed to do something else.
yeah, yeah. Yes, but it's yeah, yeah, I get it. Like, every person has different type of like style and like, what they love to listen and yeah, because like you are basically like gaining energy from those tones or like the rhythm or so on. It's really interesting because like for example, like when I started like jumping back into business, I was listening so many like motivation, like real like motivational speeches and like so many talks and like I'm still listening lots of like different type of like live presentations and so on because I just like I love to study the way that they are presenting stuff and so on because like that's another like step towards that I'm like really interesting to go um when it comes to you like doing the performance and like having this type of mind like the mindset of like singing and mindset of being on like doing basically presentation, is
Mhm.
this similar feeling for you like how you actually like observe things?
Very similar because
Okay.
practice is really important. When I was
Yeah.
singing more, I had so many hours a day that I would practice, and then I had memorizing that I had to do, and
Hmm.
then I learning new music. The same thing as a keynote speaker. I'm developing content, I'm memorizing it, I'm practicing it, and of course, when you're on stage, you're doing it, right? And then now as an entrepreneur, I also have to develop that business and find places that will invite me to speak. So business
Yeah.
development is very much a part of that practice now.
Yeah, that's really yeah. I This is really interesting. Okay, because like yeah, you are really interesting mix of like
I am.
skills that
I'm
you developed over the years.
I'm unusual and I'm okay with that.
I don't know, I love it because this is like that's how we are. Like like that's who we are. Like everybody is different. Everybody has different ways of what they like, what they do, and like that's okay. And like we should be. Everybody should be okay with who they are. It was like there are so many people, and you probably see it more than anybody else, and especially like with working with young people at this time. Uh, like people care so much about what other people thinks, right? Like so much, it's so crazy. I've been the same way. Like literally, I've been always like, oh my gosh, like what other people think about me. I cannot even like speak properly my English. Like always this type of self doubt and so on. And then like I completely like done. No, 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 no. This is not anymore like the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then like launch the podcast, start doing talks like this, and it's completely changed my life. It's crazy. Um, and I'm just so curious about like when it comes to your like, would you would you say that is there something a part of singing, something else that you would say that you are super super like passionate about, even like do you like sports or do you don't really, or like do
So
you have some, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
I do like sports, but I like to observe them.
Uh-huh.
I'm not an athlete, but my niece plays volleyball in high school and
Right.
club, and my nephews play baseball and soccer. So it is great fun to see sports, and I live in a university town, so I follow those sports for the men and women at the university. So yeah, I think it's wonderful. And the thing about sports, which is interesting, it's all about teamwork and finding your expertise and collaboration. So I'm fascinated about the leadership experience and the team experience of sport. And I would say that's true on stage too. Whether you're in a production with other people or you're a soloist, you still have an accompanist, someone who's playing the piano, or an orchestra that you're working with. So these are transferable from the business world to the arts and to the sports world.
Right. So basic uh you're like just a question, how many kids do you have, if
I
I may
don't
ask?
I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews. So I have a brother
Oh,
and sister.
okay.
They have children, but I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. You never been down like for kids or like
You
when
know,
it comes to.
I always say, Adam, that motherhood is a calling, and I didn't have the calling to be a mother. I love my nieces and nephews. My husband has children from his first marriage, but they're very similar to my age, so we don't call them stepchildren because they're the same age as I am. He's old. My husband's older than I am, so I never had that yearning to be a mother by birth, but I'm very nurturing and I love the kids in my life. They're just different relations. They're not children to me. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's really interesting because and this is like completely against all like the ways that we are taught. Like finish school, get a job, get a kids, like take it, like get yeah, build a
And
house.
and I'm a rebel in that regard, right? Because I am of a generation where it was expected to have children. And I remember when my husband and I first got married, my parents love my parents, but they were disappointed that I didn't have children.
Wow.
I get.
Wow.
But I also think not everybody is meant to be a parent. And I think that's a really important decision. It's an incredible responsibility. I have great admiration for parents, and I am part of the village of some families that raise children, but it wasn't that important to me to do it myself. And I was very conscious of that from an early age.
Mm,
I knew
hmm.
it as a little girl.
Wow. So I'm just good. Like, okay. So what? Like, you? I'm not just like maybe I ask this question. So what actually drives you when it comes to the business, like the whole success? Because like that was like one of the first question. It was the impact on the world or something like that. Did you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Because like many people is like based on the generations. Like they're trying to like
Yeah.
leave behind them like the legacy and like build. Yeah.
I have great respect for that, but for me it's all about what I can do to impact positive change. And I don't want to
Right.
be negative, but it's
Change
really,
the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really tough out there right now, right? We've
Oh
got
yeah.
wars, we've got
Yes.
economies, we've got unemployment, and I'm not blaming anyone, but it is a very tough time. So if I in some small way can help people be more successful, be healthy,
Hmm.
happier because they're in a career that they love, then I'm gratified, right? And I've done good work because I think life is short and I want people to be
Oh
able
yeah.
to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so crazy because when I have the vision on like literally in front of my face. Like, what is for you the scariest thing that can happen in your life? Like when it comes to like when you going to get into the point that you should leave this world. Like, what is the scariest thing like of your accomplishment or of who you supposed to be? What is like for you? What is it for you?
I think part of it is as we get older, right, being relevant. And I think
Mm,
it's important because we need to reinvent, we need to keep learning. I'm a lifelong learner. So if I'm going to continue to do what I do for a long time, I can't stay in the status quo. And that's part of being a risk taker. What am I learning? What's new? What's different? What are the trends? What's working? What's not? We constantly ask these questions, especially as entrepreneurs, to stay relevant. So I wouldn't say that's a fear, but it's a driver for me
mm,
to stay relevant so my business matters. And on a personal level, it's to stay healthy. There are a lot of really tough things out there in the
yeah,
world. And I want to honor my health and wellness so my body serves me well into old age.
yeah, yeah. Are you planning to be in a business until the end of the days
Oh
for
yeah.
yeah.
I will never go back to working for a company. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I have the creative autonomy, I have the decision making, and the sky's the limit, right? And I don't say this to brag. I have more control in my company now. I'm actually making more money because I don't have any barriers. I can
Yeah.
do what I need to do, and I find that exhilarating.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to the point like when I ask what is the scariest thing that can happen? Like, what like for me, like I'm so scared of like when I die and if that's true and or if that even is possible that I'm going to meet the person that I could become at that time, like at that day.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
Like I
So,
want to be really, really similar to that person, like who I supposed to, like who I could become.
yeah, do you have a vision of who you want to become?
Yeah, like yeah. I'm like I'm consistent. That's why I'm like without the goal, without the desire, without the reason people perish, right? Like literally this is the most important thing to me. Like I'm having progressive steps that I'm going towards, right? All the time. Like I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to get as close as possible, right? I'm trying to make it even bigger, to make it even like, because bigger goals, even though I'm gonna hit like lower goal, it's still going to be like more than if I would set like really minimalistic goal. I don't know. That's my way of like how I operate, right?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I do you have some, like do you have your steps like that you go and pursue all? Yeah,
Every year I think about what do I want this year to look like?
yeah,
Do I want more personal time or do I want to lean into work more? Do I want to earn more money? Do I want different clients? As a speaker, do I want bigger
yeah,
stages and bigger environments? Absolutely. And then I'll also say sometimes in life we scale back, right? Maybe we have parents that need extra care and attention, or maybe we have loved ones where they're things are happening and we know we need to honor them with our
yeah.
time and our resources. So it ebbs and it flows, but I think we all need to think about what do we really want every
Mm-hmm.
check in, every 6 months. What's missing? And Adam, I have three questions that I always ask. What's working?
Hmm.
Celebrate that. What's not?
Yeah.
Why? What can I change, right? And what's next?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, this is really cool. Yeah, it's it's so simple. Like and it gives you everything what you need to do the next step, like decide what is going on, like and like I love even like the way that you think like about like um failure, because like I don't believe in failure, kind of like I don't believe, because I believe in results,
Right.
data. So
Yeah.
I don't take failure as a failure until I would fail, like complete, like I would give up. That would be failure.
Right, and I think it's okay to say that didn't work. What's next, right?
Oh yeah.
What can we try that's different? To me, that's not failure. That's smart decision making,
Oh yeah.
right?
100%.
So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, I agree with you. Failure to me is not bad. It's a
Yeah.
step on the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Because it's part of the journey.
Right. And I'll tell you this, if you're not failing, you're not growing.
Oh yeah. That's so, yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to your r- beliefs, like like religious, did that have effect on your success also, like on your life?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be really candid with you. So I grew up in a Catholic environment, went to church, did all the sacraments, and I love that ritual and that tradition. It's very much a part of my family for generations. But as I grow older, I think about the bigger world and this force of nature, right? And this higher power. And I also realize now too, there are so many religions. There are different world
Oh yeah.
religions. Right. So I want to celebrate that. I don't think there's one way. I
Mhm.
celebrate that some people are Muslim and some people are Christian, or celebrate Judaism or Hinduism, or maybe they're agnostic and they don't believe in a singular religion, but the overall force.
Yeah.
And then some people are atheist. I respect what you want to choose, whoever's
Mhm.
listening, because I realize it's not my place to tell you how you should feel
Yeah.
about that.
Makes
But
sense.
personally, I think yes, this concept of the force of nature, that something out there is bigger than us, really matters. Yeah.
Yeah. So did that have any like influence on your decisions that you made in your life, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think the values that my parents and my family instilled in me, be a good person, be honest, be gracious, have integrity,
Yeah.
to do the right thing. I think those definitely have always been part of who I am. And you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of cheating and lying. And in my belief system, I think we should try to be honest and
Yeah.
and and true and have integrity. So that is important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much. That was amazing. Like amazing conversation. Like, I would love to. I would love to also know, like, where are you heading? With your business, with your vision, even like with your business and your personal life. Like, because that's two different things, right? Like, what are, what does your in your vision, like, what your future look like when it comes to business, and even like when it comes to your personal life?
Yeah. So recently, I've really focused my business on my speaking because that brings me such great joy. I've got some wonderful new content and I'm really learning how to scale that part of the business. So that's the next, right? Really scaling and growing that. The coaching is something that I love, and going in and working with companies is also something that I love, but the speaking really really excites me. So I would say that's the focus of my personal business. And my professional business. Personally, I have kind of a renewed sensibility about my life and my health and my well-being. And I never want to take that for granted because I was burned out and my health wasn't as good as it is now. And I never want to take that for granted because we only have one life and we only have one body, and we need to honor it.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, 100%. Like, I feel like, because, like, when I pretty much work on a computer all the time, right? And it's like you can feel it when you are so
Yeah.
much into it, and every day working like even like 14 hours like crazy, because I just love it.
Yeah.
And I just literally, like, a couple of months ago, I just had to start going to gym back, and I was like, I'm because I loved it also. Like, this is like one of the things that I've been always in sport, and so, and like, because I start feel like it just, I don't know, like, I haven't feel that well as I've been, like, when I've been in the shape before, and now, like, getting back into it is so much refreshing, and I have so much different energy and everything, like, eating clean and so on. It's so different.
It is so different, and it's an
Yeah,
investment in our bodies and our
yeah,
health, our well-being, and I find when I'm working out and I'm eating well, I'm better at the work, but I'm also better at my life. I'm happier.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it all matters, and I think no matter how busy we are, we have to honor our bodies and our
Oh,
health and our.
totally. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It was amazing. I have three rapid fires before we completely wrap up.
Okay.
So the first one, I'm just like going to throw them at you. So the first one is, what is one book that you have read that, like, made the biggest impact on you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a book by Marshall Goldsmith, and it's a rather old book. It's been around for about 20 years. It's called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And it
Whew,
gives you this
I have
idea
never
that
read that. I'll literally going to check it. Yeah.
what got you here won't get you there by Marshall Goldsmith, who happens to be an incredible mentor of mine, and he's written many, many books. But what I love about that is it says, never be complacent. We've always got to think
Um.
about what's next. Never assume that people know your value. You've always got to be a step ahead, thinking, what's next and how do I prove to people that I bring something valuable? Whether you're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur or you're in an
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah. Love it. So, the second one is, if you could delete one advice from the internet
Hmm.
that doesn't serve people at all, it's basically total BS. Like, what would that be? What would, yeah,
So
what
I
would you?
think I'm answering this correctly, Adam, but what I would say is there's so much false information on the internet. So my
Yeah,
advice there is make sure you're fact checking, make
yeah,
sure everything that you're absorbing from social media is actually true because there's so much junk out there, so much inaccurate, so much false information. So when I look at things online, and I'm online a lot, I really have to make sure, is this true or is this just someone posting something that's their opinion? Because they're two very different things. So that's how I would answer that.
yeah, yeah. And any type of, like, belief, for example, that you, like, it's like installed, or, what is the word I'm looking for, into people, that,
Yeah.
like, literally, like, install into people that doesn't serve them at all, and people, like, lots of people that you can see in your, like, industry, like, market, that people believes in, and, like, doesn't serve them at all. What would that be?
One of the things on social media, it's all about comparing ourselves to someone else.
Phew. Yeah.
And it can really dangerous. So I always say, put your blinders on, right? Think like a racehorse. Put your blinders on and stay in your lane and trust yourself. Bet on yourself. Know that you have what it takes. And yes, consult other people, get inspired by other people, but don't compare yourself to other people. Run your race.
Yeah, love it. Okay, and the last one is, if this would be your last interview you've ever done, what would be the message that you would love to leave behind you for the older generations?
Yeah. Enjoy your career and love your life.
Very simple. I love it. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you here. It was a great conversation. You are amazing in what you do. Like, yeah, I think like this is the best way to describe it. Where people can find you to, contact with you or connect with you.
Thanks, Adam. So my website is the best place. So carolinedowdhiggins.com, and they can also find me on LinkedIn. But that's the best place. Everything that I do is there, and that's really the mothership to find everything that I do.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much. And for everybody who's listening, we will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.